Welcome back, guys, to a brand new video. Today, guys, we're going to be ranking every single GX card that has ever come out. Yes, the Sun and Moon era is coming to a close very soon this year, and that means the GX card mechanic will no longer be in standard for the time being, unless they come back. And yes, this tier list is going to include every single GX card. There is a lot of them. This also includes Tag Team GXs, since they are literally GX cards. And I'm excited to get into it. Now, if you guys are going to go on to enjoy today's tier list video, leave a like. And if you guys want to see more tier list videos like this one, let me know. I will be down to do more tier list videos. They're a lot of fun to do. I really enjoy making ranking videos. I've done ranking videos before. They're some of my most popular videos. So I thought this would be a nice way to kind of send off the Sun and Moon era. The Sun and Moon era was honestly fantastic. Despite tag team cards not being, amazing and not fun to play against, the Sun and Moon era was honestly amazing. There were so many fun cards, and the GX mechanic in general was just really good. So it's going to be sad to see them go. But yeah. And leave a comment down below. What were your favorite GX cards? What were your favorite GX cards? Don't be ashamed to say something that people may not like. If you have a favorite GX card, let me know down in the comments down below. Yeah, quick shout out to Card Cavern real quick. Obviously, if you guys are looking for any PC Show pack codes, get them over at Card Cavern. Use code LDF if you get any codes over there. Card Cavern sells codes for the cheapest online. With that out of the way, let's get into the ranking, guys. We're going to be ranking every single GX card. Okay, here we go, guys, with the tier list maker of all the GX cards. Now, as you can see, I have all the GXs here. There is a buttload of them. And we have 5 tiers. We got the GOAT tier. These are the best of the best. The GXs that had the most impact, saw the most play, did the best in tournaments, and were just the most impactful. We have tier 1. These cards are good. They had a pretty good impact, but they weren't the GOATs. Like, they weren't the greatest of the greatest. They may have been used in some of the decks that were the greatest, but they weren't quite the greatest. Then we have tier 2. They were good. They saw a little bit of play, weren't really super great. We have Rogue. They're just kind of roguey, never did much, but they were fun to play as rogues. And then we just had Trash, where they just saw no play whatsoever, and they were just bad cards. So, those are our categories. Let's get into it. So we're starting things off with some of the Dragon Majesty cards. Getting things started, we have a Reshiram Gx here. I don't think this card did much. I know its attack Vermilion. GX attack Vermilion allowed you to put a bunch of energy in play from your hand. When Fiery Flint was around, this was actually a pretty good a GX attack, but it never saw much play. Like, even in like something like a Welder Mewtwo deck didn't play it. Yeah, don't think it really took off. I'm going to put it in the Rogue tier. I don't remember Reshiram being all that good. Next up is Kendra. I'm going to put that in Rogue. I know Kendra is good and expanded with Mewtwo, but we're not going to be using expanded for this video. We're only counting standards impact. And Kendra really wasn't all that great, in my opinion. It's good and expanded with Archie's Choice, but other than that, I don't remember it being very good. But you know what? It is still a Rogue card. Hydro Pump is still a very powerful attack. I think it deserves to Rogue. And then we have Dragonite Gx. We got 2 different Dragonites in today's tier list. The Dragonite, I mean, I guess it's Rogue. Actually, I think we want to put it in Trash tier. I don't remember this card being play at all. It had a GX stack where you can put like Dragon Pokemon in play, but that never took off because you're also a stage 2, so no one really played it. Just kind of a trash card. Next up is Altaria. I think Altaria is a pretty good, it's a good tier 2 card. Its attack allows you to be immune to GXs, which is very powerful, but I don't remember this card having much of an impact on the game. Really, I saw a little bit of play until V's came out. I know it was pretty cool in Mewtwo decks, and that's really about it. But I don't think it was a phenomenal card. A lot of people just had counters to it generally anyways, so it never really took off, but it was still a decent enough card. I think it deserves to be in tier 2. We have Salamence. Fortunately, it's just never saw much play. It's gonna have to be in the trash. We got Whitekirim Gx, another kind of a trash card. Just never really caught play. It saw some play and expanded with Garbodor, but like, never was great. Never saw play in standard. Next up is Pinsir, just trash. Hidden Fates had some of the worst GXs just ever released, and Pinsir is one of them. And we have Charizard. All right, this is going to be the first tier 1 card. I think this Charizard GX is a great card. It gave Mewtwo and Mew tag team decks a great option to knock out another tag team in return. Charizard's impact is amazing. It did so much. It had so much value in Mewtwo and Mew decks, and I think it's a great card in Welder Mewtwo. It's what made that deck honestly kind of good. Having the ability to just do 300 damage for 4 energy against tag teams is great. Even now, when Welder Mewtwo is still seeing play in our current standard format, this card is still a one of in Mewtwo decks, in Welder decks. It's insane. how good it is in Mewtwo. Its impact in Mewtwo is great. I think it's a tier 1 card for sure because of its impact in Mewtwo. Next up is Starmie. I'll put it in the Rogue tier. It saw a little play in a Water Mewtwo deck, but that's was never a deck. And we got this other Mewtwo here. Pretty, yeah, trash. Got Onyx. Another trash card, unfortunately. Wigglytuff. Another trash card. One of the last Fairy GXs we had, and it just sucks. We got Bertrio. I think Bertrio deserves to be in tier 1. It's a pretty solid card. It saw play throughout most of its time in Standard. I think it's fair to say that. It was cool with the Victini and greens, and, you know, yeah. I think it's a tier 1 card for sure. Definitely think belongs in tier 1. It's a pretty phenomenal tag team card. Then we got Snorlax Gx, the first GX ever released back in 2016. Damn, it has been 5 years. The nostalgia is already kicking in. Never saw play. Trash. We got Lucario Gx. I think it's fair to put in tier 1. I mean, Lucario was a great counter to Zora Gx and Pikachu and Zekrom. So, I think it's pretty fair to put Lucario in tier 1. Being able to have a one-shot on those Pokemon was pretty good. I wasn't the greatest fighting Pokemon that could counter those Pokemon at the time, but it was still pretty powerful. It had an annoying GX attack where if you don't knock it out, you get punished. And, yeah, I think it's a tier 1 card for sure. We got this Lunala here, pretty bad. And then we have Solgaleo here with Turbo Strike. I think this is a tier 1 card. I think this card saw a lot of play in Mewtwo decks. Its impact in Welder Mewtwo was insane. Being able to hit for 120 for 2 energy and put extra energy onto a bench Mewtwo was honestly just really good. It was one of the reasons why the Welder Mewtwo deck had legs, was honestly because of the Solgaleo having that energy acceleration in its attack. Yeah, I think it's a tier 1 card. It gave that Mewtwo deck a lot of life. A lot of people thought that the Welder Mewtwo was going to lose popularity when this card left. That's how big of a card it was. We got Raikou, trash. Zygarde, trash. Thundurus, pretty much a trash card. Yeah, Tornadus, kind of also pretty bad. A lot of trash cards in a row. None of these GXs ever did anything. Oh, I actually put Reshiram twice in here. Okay, let's put that in the trash tier. I'm not going to put in Rogue, just to make it prettier. Zekrom Gx. So it hasn't attacked as like 1 for 70 on a GX Pokemon, but even when Electro Power was out, this never saw play, so probably just trash. Then we got Lycanroc. I'll put it in the Rogue tier. I do remember when this card came out, people did try it out with, I think, Raticate from Evolutions, and I think it saw a little bit of play alongside Lycanroc GX from Guardians Rising for a little bit. Outside of that, never did much, so probably just a Rogue card. Then we got Wailord Tag Team GX. I probably would put in tier 2. In Standard, I don't think this card ever really did super well. I know it saw play with Quagsire. Now, in Expanded, this card is probably tier 1 because it is insane in Archie's Blastoise. But in Standard, its impact was not as big. It was okay with Quagsire. I think it's good to be in tier 2. I don't think it's quite a tier 1 card, but I think tier 2 is pretty fair for Wailord Carp. Next up is Flygon Gx. I'll say tier 2. It's a decent attacker in Mewtwo decks. Like, Welder Mewtwo actually kind of likes this card. And it saw a little bit of play with Bulcephalon, I think. So, I think it's a tier 2 card. Vaporeon, I'll put in the Rogue tier. I don't think the card is terrible. It's not like a bad card. I don't think it deserves to be in the trash tier. I know it didn't see play, but I'll still put it in the Rogue tier. Jolteon is tier 1 for sure. Because its impact in Zapdos and Pika ROM decks at the time was insane when it came out. Because it was so helpful at beating Vileplume that stopped basics from attacking when it's in the active. So Jolteon was a great attacker in those decks. It was a pretty impactful card in those decks. Pika Rom and Zapdos loved it. And not only that, it had a really good GX stack. So I think it's a tier 1 card for sure. It had a really good impact in Lightning decks. Ascension Evie, I mean, trash. Everyone just played the normal Eevee, I'm pretty sure. Ascension Evie gave up 2 prizes. So if it got knocked out, you already lost 2 prizes. Melmetal GX, I'll say it's a Rogue card. I remember when it came out, people tried to make it really tanky with like red and blue, and then all these healing cards. Again, not great, but it's a pretty, like, much a Rogue. I mean, it's Rogue, right? And we got Marowak. Now, little Marowak actually is pretty cool and expanded in Mewtwo box. Because you can go, like, Giratina, Distortion Door, and then, like, knock out Zorwas and stuff. And, like, maybe Mad Party. And maybe even Standard right now, this could see play because of Mad Party's popularity. But it's just not... Never saw play in Standard, so trash. Kangaskhan, another trash card. Detective Pikachu Charizard is another trash tier card. Definitely the worst of the Charizard GXs we've ever gotten. And we got the other Detective Mewtwo. Pretty bad. Detective Mewtwo is also not very good. Detective Greninja, I'll say, is a tier 2 card. It saw its play. It was pretty good as, like, you know, one of in Mewtwo decks. Just being able to counter, you know, or have, like, that shred attack was really nice. So, I definitely think Greninja GX is tier 2. Probably the best Detective Pikachu card on this list. Yeah, Greninja was alright. It's not a bad card at all. It saw its play, did its stuff. Wasn't really tier 1. I would say it's tier 2, though, for sure. Gyarados from Hidden Fates. Trash. Raichu from Hidden Fates. Trash. Just vanilla, basic GXs that had pretty bad attacks and just were just trash. Porygon Z, really cool card, but never did much, so I'm going to say trash. There wasn't really a deck that used it. We got Trevnor. Now, I wanted to say Trevnor was a tier 1 card. Honestly, though, I think Trevnor is a GOAT card. I generally think Trevnor is a GOAT tag team Pokemon. Probably the worst of the GOAT cards, which we'll get to when we actually finish the tier list. But I do think it does deserve to be in the GOAT tier. I think it's a pretty impactful card in Standard. Now, if it was expanded, also, this would 100% be GOAT. I think it just barely makes it into the GOAT tier, though. I actually think it's pretty powerful. And another thing is because this card right now in the Jit Mewtwo deck, it's a popular card in that deck. It's a very good card. It saw a lot of play with Malamar back in the day. And when Cresselia and Shadow Rider come out, this card is going to see even more play. I think Trevnor is a GOAT card. And I think by the time rotation hits, Trevnor is going to finish off as a GOAT tier tag team card. But I do think it deserves to be in the GOAT tier. I do. I think it's not the best of the GOATs, but I think that it is still in the GOAT tier. I think this card had a really big impact still. Next up, we got Pikachu. Yeah, trash. We got Alolan Sandslash. Probably just a rogue card. I mean, it's got a really cool GX attack, but no one ever made it work competitively. It's just kind of a rogue card. Next up is Carcosta GX. Pretty much a trash tier card. Never saw play. We got Tapu Bulu here. Vika Bulu was a great deck, so I'm going to say it's a pretty solid tier 1 card. Vika Bulu was an awesome deck at the time. I think Laurentius Bulu was a thing for like a little bit, but Vika Bulu was a pretty popular deck back in the day, and I think Bulu deserves to be in tier 1, 100% for sure. No debate. We got Beware. Fortunately, it's a trash card. Sorry, PTCG Radio, Wasi. It's just, this card never saw play. Next up is Serena GX. Another trash tier card. Never saw play. Didn't do much. Well, yeah, it didn't do much. Next up is Pheromosa. I'll say it's a rogue tier card. I mean, it's not a terrible card. Again, if we're counting expanded, I would probably bump this up to tier 2, but expanded doesn't count because expanded Pheromosa Donk is a thing on the ladder on PTCGO. While not competitive, it's still a ladder grind deck, so it'd be tier 2 if it was expanded, but we're not counting expanded, so I'm going to say it's a rogue card. I don't think I can put it in the trash tier. It's not that bad of a card. I think it did see a bit of play, too. Next up is Celesteela. Rocketfall. I'm going to say it's rogue. I remember some people wanted to make it work with, like, Absol, and I think Aqua Secret Base was around, or there's, like, Galarmine or something like that. No, not Galarmine. Aqua Secret Base. I don't know. Point is, people try to make the Celesteela work. It saw niche rogue play. Never took off. Pretty much a rogue card at the most. Xurkitree. Xurkitree is probably tier 2, I want to say. It saw minor play and stall and control, and I think Pikarom played it at one point. Probably just a tier 2 card. I mean, maybe rogue, but I think it's fair to put in tier 2. It won games because some people had no way to damage it. Its ability makes it immune to special energies. Or Pokemon Special Energy. Entei GX. Trash. Welder never played it. Raichu. This Raichu is kind of cool. I want to say it's a rogue card, though. It never really took off. It does do more damage for each light energy in play. Never saw much play, though. I think Nuzzle Raichu just became ultimately better. So I don't think this card did much. So it's probably just a rogue card. Maybe tier 2 if I'm nice, but I'm going to say it's rogue for now. We got Mewtwo with Cyburn. I'll say this is tier 2. A lot of people played this card in Malamar, and it was a pretty good card to have in Malamar. Being able to do 3 Psych Energy for 200 damage at the time was actually kind of decent. When you have Choice Band on top of that, it was able to take knockouts on bigger Pokemon. So I actually think this Mewtwo is a very good card in those Psychic Malamar decks. Its impact was felt. Not a tier 1 card, but I'm going to definitely say it's a tier 2 card. Zora Gx. Pretty easy GOAT card. Arguably one of the best cards ever printed. I mean, if we were in our current format now with VMAXs and tag teams, I don't know if this card would see play, but back in the day, man, this card was insane. Zora is like one of the most infamous cards of the Sun and Moon era, if not the most infamous. Definitely the GOAT tier, 100%. Zoroark, just insane. Tord, Recklip popularized it, and pretty much from there was like a jillion ways to play it. You know, Lycanroc, Zoroark, Zoropod, Zoroark Control, Zoroark Checkmate, Zoroark Glaceon, Zoroark B-String, Zoroark Gardevoir, Zoroark Decidueye, Zoroark Ninetales. Just insane Zoroark deck. Zoroark, probably the best GX card to me. I don't know if it's the best GOAT card because there's another card on here that I think might be better, but Zoroark definitely has to be up there in the best of the GOATs. Next up is Decidueye. I'm also going to throw it in the GOAT tier. I think Decidueye, it fell off at one point, but Decidueye Vileplume, when it was in its prime, that deck was so good. It was a very good deck. Decidueye Vileplume with Force Giant Plants was one of the best decks in the format and had a huge impact on the game. So I definitely think Decidueye GX is a GOAT card. Again, it fell off when Force of Giant Plants ended up getting banned and stuff like that happened, and then Decidueye just fell off in popularity and play. But when it was played with Vileplume, it was a very good deck, and it was insanely powerful. So I think Decidueye has to be in the GOAT tier. It's one of the best like early Sun and Moon era cards that we had at the time, so I think it's a GOAT tier. Lurantis, I'm going to say, is a Rogue tier. Decidueye just kind of outshined it. Incineroar, I'll put it in Rogue also. Some people, at the time, people try to make it work with like a Firebox deck. They did more damage for each fire Pokemon in play, and then you had Max Potion at the time, so yeah, people try to make it work. I'll say it's a Rogue card. Lapras, all right, I'm going to put Lapras in tier 1. People forget, but Lapras was a pretty good card back in the day. There was Water Box Lapras. Max Elixir was around when Lapras was legal, so that's why it was so good. And then Aqua Patch came out. But there's also that Quad Lapras deck. Quad Lapras ended up being a very powerful deck also in our standard format back in the day. Back when Sun and Moon was in its prime, in the early days of Sun and Moon, man, Lapras was one of the best GXs and was very powerful. And I'm going to say it's a tier 1 card. People forget about it, but it generally is a tier 1 card. Then we got Primarina GX. Probably just trash. Espeon is also a tier 1 card. I think it's fair to say Espeon's a pretty powerful GX card. You know, Espeon Garbodor was really good. Yeah, Espeon was a great card. I mean, had a pretty good impact on the game. Psybeam was pretty good back in the day. Psychic was also really good at defeating big Pokemon like Volcanion, GX, or EX. Yeah, Divide GX was good too. Espeon definitely a tier 1 card. No debate there. Lunala Gx is a Rogue card. People try to make it work because it moves the energy around, which you can combo with Max Potion, but the partners were kind of limited. The best things you had was like Wobbuffet, Lunala itself, Lugia, Tauros, EX, GX. Didn't do much. I'll say it's a Rogue, though. It's still like saw some play. Umbreon. A tough one. I want to say tier 2. I don't think Umbreon was as good as Espeon. I think Espeon was the better of the evolutions from Sun and Moon base, but I think Umbreon did its job. It was still a decent card. I think Espeon outshined it. I can't remember Umbreon being all that great. It was okay, but I don't remember it being the greatest card ever printed, right? So, don't think it was quite tier 1. Definitely a tier 2 card in my opinion. I think tier 2 is fair for Umbreon GX. I don't think it was quite the tier 1 card it had to be. Espeon had a longer lasting impact over Umbreon. So yeah, I got Solgaleo with Sunsteel Strike and Soul Burst. I'll put in tier 1. It saw play with Metagross at the time, and that was a pretty cool deck. But also, when the Ultimate Mewtwo deck played the Solgaleo, it also blew up in popularity, and Solgaleo became the instrument of that deck. So yeah, Solgaleo GX is definitely a tier 1 card, for sure. You got Tauros GX. I'll say tier 1. Again, it's like Lapras, where like at the time when Tauros first came out, it was pretty popular because being able to use Mad Bull GX was insane back in the day. It saw a lot of play in Yveltal and Ninja Boy. And it saw play in Decidueye, I'm pretty sure, too. It saw play in quite a bit of decks back when it first came out. I think it declined in popularity over time. I know Tauros Garbodor became a popular deck also at the time. So yeah, at the time, it saw quite a bit of play. It declined over time, but like at first, this card had a pretty big impact on the game, I want to say. So I'll say it's a tier 1 card. People forget about Tauros. Gumshoes is Rogue, saw play with like Houndoom, EX, Buzzmosa. Funny enough, Buzzmosa had so much hype in Japan, but the reason why it was so good in Japan at the time was because Japan didn't have Reshizard, and when we got Buzzmosa, we had Reshizard with Buzzmosa. So Buzzmosa in Japan was insanely broken. It was really good. It was one of the best deck at the time. But because of Reshizard being in the set, we got Buzzmosa, and Buzzmosa never took off. It saw a niche play in some scenarios. I'll say it's a tier 2 card. Pretty much just like Wailord card, in my opinion. Even now with Rillaboom Mewtwo, I still think it's a tier 2 card. Venomoth GX, trash. Reshizard, alright, yeah, let's put that in the GOAT status. Reshizard is insane. While the Reshizard at the time was once the greatest deck in Standard. Not the greatest deck, but the best deck in Standard. Even right now, Reshizard is like a 1 of in every single deck using Welder, so that's saying something. Reshizard now, you'd think it'd fall off in popularity, but no, Reshizard is still holding on as a great GX card. So yeah, GOAT status for sure. Blastoise GX, I'll say it's a Rogue card. Never did much. Dedenne GX. Alright, yeah, another GOAT card for sure. Dedenne might not be an attacker, but that ability is so good. Discard Draw 7, or Discard Draw 6, sorry, is ridiculous. Combo that with Discard Draw 7, and also with Crobat. The amount of draw is a little ridiculous, not gonna lie. Dedenne's ability is a little overkill with all the draw we do have right now, but yeah, there's no denying Dedenne is a GOAT card. No denying that at all. It's insanely powerful. Got the best draw ability. It's probably better than the other draw card that we have in the Sun and Moon era. Then we got Muckalolan Muck GX. I'll say it's a rogue card. Bit of play with Mewtwo. Never saw play by itself. Marshchamp. I'll say it's another rogue tier card. Back when the fighting craze was a thing, people were like, oh, Lucario, Lycanroc, Buzzwole, and then we also have Marshchamp all together to defeat the evil beings of Pikachu and Zekrom and Zoroark. Marshchamp probably was the worst of them all, I think. So, rogue tier. Greninja Zoroark. I don't remember this card being great in Standard, and Expanded is not bad in Dark Box, for sure. Expanded would be a tier 1 card, but in Standard, it was just kind of a rogue card. Then we got Honchkrow. In Standard, Honchkrow was trash, and if it was Expanded, I would put it in tier 2, because Honchkrow is a ladder grinding deck. In Standard, it never saw play, and I don't even think people played it with hand control. It was better in Expanded in that regard, so Honchkrow never did much in Standard, so we'll throw it in the trash tier. Then we got Luke Metal. I might get hate for this. I'm going to put Lucario Metal in the tier 1. Now, there's a reason why. And yes, I know Lucario Metalization is a very good deck. I don't think it's the best of the best. I don't think Luke Metal became the best of the best. I don't think its impact was as big as the other tag teams that I'm going to put in the GOAT tier. But also, I don't think it deserves to be in GOAT tier. Luke Metal didn't do much until Zacian came out, right? Just because Zacian came out, this card got better. Which, yeah, can pump it up. Like, if Zacian never came out, this card would probably be in the rogue status. But you know what? Its impact is pretty big. I'm still going to say it's a tier 1 card. I'm not going to put it in the GOAT status. I don't think Lucario Metal deserves to be in the GOAT status, in my opinion. Luke Metal's also not the deck to beat right now in Standard. It never was. You know, Pikarom, Eternus, ADP, Urshifu. Those are the decks to beat, not so much Luke Metal. It's there. It's always going to be there, but I don't think it's the deck to beat. Luke Metal's a tier 1 card, okay. Next up is Guardian. I'll throw Guardian in tier 1. Back before Metal got popularization, Guardian was actually a pretty powerful deck. Not GOAT status, but it was a powerful enough deck, much like Luke Metal, for the time it was popular until it got power crept out of the format by Metal. Guardian was good, right? Next up, we have Whimsicott. Pretty much the definition of a rogue. Like, Whimsicott Porygon is like the definition of a little fun rogue deck. So it's a rogue card. Persian Gx. I'll say it's tier 2. I don't think it's quite tier 1. Persian Gx was pretty good with Zoroark for a time, and also saw a little bit of play with other GX cards. I know ADP tried playing it back in the day. I'll say it's a tier 2 card. I don't know. It might be tier 1. I think Persian Gx is a tier 2 card. It like saw minor play. It's not even seen play right now. So I don't think Persian deserves to be a GOAT, or no, not tier 1. Definitely not GOAT. It definitely doesn't need to be tier 1. I think Persian deserves to be in tier 2. We got the Celesteela Rocketfall. Yeah, not that great. Eggrow. Okay, Eggrow. I'll put Eggrow in tier 1. I think it's deserving of it. Now, here's the thing. Eggrow never saw any play at all until Rillaboom Eggrow with Double became a popular deck. But even when that became a deck, it never became the best deck in the format, or even like one of the best decks. It just became a pretty mid-level good deck, right? Wasn't the deck to beat or anything. Even now with Eggrow, Mewtwo, Rillaboom, I don't think it deserves to be in the GOAT status. It's definitely a tier 1 card. I think it deserves to be a tier 1 card. Super Gold is great. Expanded, okay, this was Expanded. I would put it in the GOAT tier because of Vileplume Eggrow, which I think Vileplume should get banned because you shouldn't be able to use Force Giant Plains in Expanded with Eggrow, but that's for another story, for another day. But yeah, I think Eggrow is a tier 1 card, no doubt about it. I don't think it deserves to GOAT. Honestly, it might even be a tier 2 card, generally, but I think it's powerful enough to be in the tier 1. Next up is Heatran. Yeah, I'll put that in tier 1. So a pretty good staple in every fire deck, for sure. Definitely a tier 1 card. Slowduck is another rogue card. Keldeo Gx, I'll put in tier 1. People might forget, but before Vs came out, Keldeo ADP was a popular deck, and it was a great deck, and Keldeo actually had a pretty big impact on the game when it was legal at the time, so I think it's a tier 1 card for sure. Yeah, I think Keldeo Gx is a perfect tier 1 card. Had a big impact on the game at the time, before the Vs came out. Raichu, yeah, it's a tier 1 card. Not the GOAT card. It's not the staple of Pika decks, but it is a pretty good card in Pika. It's not, you know, the be-all, end-all that makes Pikarom so good, but it's definitely a player in that deck, so I think it deserves to be in tier 1. It also wins you games. Then we got Mewtwo and Mew. Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a GOAT card. Maybe even the best Tag Team GX. It's just so versatile. Mewtwo is also the only Tag Team card to ever win a World Championship. Eat your heart out, ADP. Yeah, Mewtwo Mew, probably a GOAT card. No one's going to deny that. It's so popular. It's been consistently good. Even when it lost a lot of GXs when rotation hit, it still is seeing a lot of play. Arguably more play than it's ever been. Now that Urshifu is out, this card is also insanely popular. You got Jit Mewtwo, you got Psychic Mewtwo, Eggrow Mewtwo, Welder Mewtwo, Ultimate Mewtwo box. You got even Water Mewtwo is a thing. Like, Mewtwo is just generally consistently one of the best cards in the game. So easy GOAT status right there. Espeon Deoxys, I'll put in tier 1. At the time, Espeon Deoxys was pretty popular in the Welder Mewtwo decks, and it also, Cross Division was impactful in those Welder Mewtwo decks. So I think Espeon Deoxys is an easy tier 1 pick. It had a pretty big impact in Mewtwo decks. If you just have a good impact in Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team decks, you might just end up being in tier 1. Like easy tier 1 slots right there. Latios Gx, I'll put that in tier 1 also. Again, another great card that Mewtwo decks utilize to their advantage. Tag Purge was really good. Even Clear Vision saw minor play. So I think, yeah, it's a tier 1 card. It had a good impact in Mewtwo. That's all you need to be in tier 1, apparently. Jirachi Gx is tricky. I'll put in tier 2. I don't think Jirachi needs to be tier 1. Yes, it's good in Urshifu, and I know it's seen a lot of play right now, but, like, I don't think it needs to be a tier 1. It didn't see much play in Mewtwo before, and I just don't think it needs to be in tier 1, in my opinion. I think it's fine being in tier 2. I know it's pretty good in the Jit Mewtwo deck. Star Search seems to be a pretty good attack for that deck, but I don't think it needs to be tier 1. I think Jirachi Gx is fine in tier 2. Next up is Dactyl Gx. Let's put that in the Rogue category. Never did much. We got Umbreon Darkrai. I'll put that in tier 2. Then we got Sableye and Weavile, which I guess can all be clumped together. I don't remember these Darkrai Dark decks being super impactful in the game. I think they all should just be in tier 2. Now, in Expanded, otherwise, I'd probably put Weavile in tier 1. Umbreon Darkrai would probably stay in tier 2. Sableye would be in tier 1. I don't know. I don't think these Weavile decks, like, I don't remember Dark Box being, like, the best deck ever to beat. I think it's fine in tier 2. You know, it's still good, but not, like, tier 1 level where it's, like, it had its impact but wasn't the GOAT, you know? So I think it's fine in tier 2 to put Umbreon Darkrai, Sableye, and Weavile in tier 2. Like, even with Eternatus being out, Weavile sees no play, which says something about it, how good it really is. I think it's fine. I think tier 2 is perfect for these cards. We got Mawile. I'll put that in tier 1 because it is so broken in ADP. Being able to slap down a Dedenne or Crobat with Mawile is so stupid. It has to be tier 1. We got Tina Chomp, another tier 1 card. Not GOAT status. Tina Chomp had its days where it was good. Back when it came out, it was alright with Malamar, and then it saw play with Roxy for a bit. And that was a pretty good deck, actually. It was one of the better decks in the format. But it kind of just fell off in play eventually. And even now, it's fine with Mewtwo and Mew in the Jit 2 deck. But I'm going to say it's a tier 1 card. Not a GOAT status card. It's definitely a tier 1 GX. Then we got Dragonite Gx. I'll put that in tier 1. Again, if just being a really good partner in Mewtwo was just impactful. And, like, it was popular in the Welder Mewtwo decks at the time. I think it was in the World's Winning list, too, that Henry Brain used. Stop seeing play, and then now it's seeing more play in the Rillaboom Mewtwo deck. And again, just being able to do 270 damage to clean up a tag team is just always going to be good. And I think Dragonite deserves to be in tier 1. It's a great partner for Mewtwo. It wins you games. Then we got Naganadel Venom Shot, another tier 1 card. Again, be a good Mewtwo partner, and you get put in tier 1. Venom Shot, again, another way Mewtwo and Mew won games. It doesn't see play anymore, and I know Mew's popular, which might factor into that why, but I don't know. Naganadel, I think, is a great card to be in tier 1. It's a great card. Venom Shot was amazing in Mewtwo decks. We got Snivysaur, which I'll put in tier 2. It's a card that did see play mainly for the Mewtwo archetype. I know that Ultimate Mewtwo deck that Henry Brand made did use the Snivysaur, but that's all it really did. It never saw impact. Even now, with Rillaboom being a great card, this card doesn't see any play. So I'll say it's a tier 2 card. It was only used really for its ability. Vileplume Gx is a tier 1 GX. Again, it's a stage 2 GX, which theoretically shouldn't even be higher than Rogue, but because it's so good with Mewtwo, and it makes such a big impact in Mewtwo because it's a 2-energy attacker, especially in Lightning Mewtwo or other Mewtwo, just the Aurora Energy attach combo is so good with Mewtwo that it puts Vileplume up in tier 1 because its impact in those Mewtwo decks is so good. Then we got Breaksard, which I'll slap in tier 2. It's good. Never saw play. Even in Welder Mewtwo decks, didn't see any play. And with Marnie and stuff, just never took off. And then we got Volcarona, which... or just a Rogue card. And then we got Piptoise. I don't think this card really did much, right? I'll say it's a Rogue card. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a Rogue card. I don't remember it really being very good or seeing much play at all. Water Mewtwo played it, I guess. I think it's still fine as a Rogue card. Wishy-Washy, trash. Solgaleo Lunala, I'll put in tier 2. I know it saw a little bit of play in Malamar. It also saw a bit of play in some Mewtwo archetypes, so I think it's deserving to be in tier 2, but no higher than that. Oricorio, I'll put that in tier 1. I don't think Oricorio GX needs to be in the GOAT status. I think it's definitely a good tier 1 pick. Dancer Tribute is an amazing ability, and a lot of Rogue, low HP, basic decks get to take value out of this, right? Rogue decks get to play it, Stage 2 decks get to play it, but even other decks played it, like even ADP started playing it, so I think Oricorio definitely deserves to be a tier 1 card. Not GOAT. It's not the best draw card, but it was definitely one of the better ones. And I think it deserves to be in tier 1. We got Flygon Gx. I'll put that in tier 2. I know it was a good partner in the Ultimate Mewtwo deck, but outside of that, it saw play with itself as Primal Flygon for a little bit, but that was never one of the best decks. It was a fun little deck that people found out, but it was never like the deck to beat or anything, you know? So I think it's fine as a tier 2 card. We got a Alolan Persian, slap that in Rogue. A really good ability, but never took off. We got Togi, got the Baby Trio. Slap that in the trash tier. Sorry, Outcast, but I mean, Baby Trio, maybe an expanded to be in the Rogue tier because Supreme Puff and expanded is kind of hilarious, but it never did anything in standard. It's always going to be a trash card in standard. Oh boy, then we got ADP, guys. The moment you've all been waiting for, the ADP. Where will I put this? I'm going to put in the trash tier. Then we got Reshiram. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, ADP obviously is a GOAT card. No one's going to deny it. It is maybe the best GX we've gotten. Like, I know Zoroark and Mewtwo are good, but ADP, bro, something about it. Everybody hates it. Everyone hates it. And you got to remember, like, these Pokemon in their prime, people hated them. People hated Zoroark. People hated Reshiram Welder when they were in their prime. But I don't remember as many people hating them as much as ADP. And ADP never got banned. ADP is so broken. You got to think about it. A 280 HP basic with a GX attack that can't be reversed, unlike an expanded with Ranger. The GX attack can be powered up in one turn. The GX attack is so good that it also gatekeeps single prize decks out of the format. It also gatekeeps other decks out of the format in general. Like, even normal GXs can't see play because if they get knocked out, they take half their prizes. So they count as a tag team GX. ADP's ultimate ray attack is also insanely busted because it powers up another Pokemon. You have Zacian as like the perfect partner for this card. ADP almost has no weakness because fairy Pokemon stopped getting printed. The fairy Pokemon we have to work with are trash. Not only are they bad, they also get countered by ADP's partner, Zacian. ADP has like effectively no counter outside of like Crushing Hammer, which is also the reason why it saw play. ADP, put that in the GOAT tier. I don't know why it never got banned. It should have gotten banned. I know a lot of people wanted it banned. I think it should have been banned, but there's no denying it's a GOAT tier card. It's insane. It's got like no counter. It's got no weakness. It's insane how broken it is. I don't want to see it ever again. Then we got Reshiram, throwing Rogue tier. Never really caught much. It was a pretty hyped up card too when it came out, but ADP ended up being the better dragon. Then we got Neguz. We'll slap that in tier 2. It did see play with Miss Magius for a little bit, but Miss Magius got banned, and then, I don't know, this card stopped seeing play eventually. Lopuff, that's a tier 1 card. It's a pretty good card. Back before V's came out, this was a pretty good staple card in some decks. Then we got Sovali, which will be a tier 2 card. Great draw ability. You know, Pedro popularized with Centiskorch. Outside of that, probably just a tier 2 card. Then we got Turtonator. I think Turtonator is a pretty good tier 1 card. Again, it's an older card. People might forget about it or don't know about it. But yeah, Turtonator had a pretty big impact in Standard. So I'm going to put that in tier 1. Next up is Alolan Ninetales Gx. Another card that kind of did get a little bit power crept out of the format, but it's a tier 1 card. At the time when it was popular, it was a good deck. It was one of the better decks in the format. Had Aqua Patch, saw play with Zora Gx and Decidueye, saw play with Decidueye by itself. And pretty solid card. Definitely a tier 1 card for sure. And again, Turtonator, Ninetales. They're old cards, but they were popular back in the day. People just don't remember. Wishy-Washy's a rogue card. It saw stall play, and that's about it. And even then, it wasn't that great. We got Vikavolt Gx. I'll say it's a rogue card. Now, it's not a trash tier, and I know it didn't see play, but people did use it sometimes in Vikavolt decks because it had a good GX tech that did 60 damage to everything, and Super Zap Cannon was a nice attack, too. So, Taboo Coco. Taboo Gx would be a tier 2 card, but because it saw play near the end of its life cycle in Pika, Rom, and Zapdos decks, is a pretty good card and a great way to attack and take big knockouts. I think it's a good tier 1 card. Back when this card came out, this card got so much hype, it was insane. People really thought this was going to be the next best thing, and it ended up flopping when Guardians Rising released. Big surprise there. I'll still say it's a tier 1 card, though. It had its big impact back when it was a thing, and its impact, I think, was big enough to slap it in tier 1. Because you always had to play around Flying Flip, and that's always something. We got Tuxpax Trash. Then we got Lele, which, yeah, that's a pretty easy GOAT card. One of the best Sun and Moon era cards. One of the most iconic Sun and Moon era cards because it was from the Sun and Moon era. So, yeah, Lele, Wonder Tag, amazing ability. Energy Drive was also great to have, too, in the format with DC around. So, Lele, easily a GOAT card. No one's going to deny that. We got Lycanroc Bloodthirsty Eyes. Now, this one's tough. I want to say it's tier 1, but honestly, there's a debate for it to be in the GOAT category. Like, I don't know, Lycanroc was such a powerful card that, like, it was really good with Zoroark. It was really good with Buzzwole, but was it deserving of the GOAT status? Was it better than the attackers that it was partnered with? That's the problem with Lycanroc. I don't know if it should be tier 1 or GOAT. I'm going to say it's tier 1. I'm not sure it should be tier 1. I think it might be better in the GOAT status, but I think it's fine in the tier 1 slot. I think it's a good tier 1. Maybe even the best tier 1 card, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. It had a good impact in those decks, but it wasn't the main attacker. I think its impact was good, but I don't think its impact puts it in the GOAT tier, because it wasn't like the main attacker. So I think it's tier 1. Metagross, I'll say tier 1, because it saw a lot of play back in the day when it was a thing. Quad Metagross, Solgaleo was pretty popular too. Sylveon was another tier 1 card, because back when it came out, Sylveon was a very annoying deck, and it was a very powerful control deck. Homo, trash. Drampa, pretty good tier 1 card. Drampa Garb, Drampa Zoroark, pretty powerful decks back in the day. Did a lot of stuff. Some of the best decks from the Sun and Moon era. Drampa, definitely a tier 1 card. Golisopod, another tier 1 card. And this is another Lycanroc scenario where it's like, should it be GOAT status? Because Golisopod was an infamously good card. It was great with Zoroark, and it was also good with Garbodor. But the problem is I don't think it deserves to be quite GOAT status. It's debatable. Lycanroc and Golisopod are both cards that you could honestly put in the GOAT tier, but I don't think they did as much as Zoroark was, which is what they were partnered with. So I don't think I should put them in GOAT. I'll say Golisopod is tier 1. Charizard, I guess Rogue, it saw play with Rhyperior. GX deck's pretty powerful. Ho-Oh Gx. Yeah, I'll put that in tier 2. Yeah, I'll put it in tier 1, actually. It did make top 8 at Worlds when Kiawe came out. This card was good. It was a pretty staple, like, fire Kiawe box deck, so I'm going to say it's tier 1. And then Salazzle, I'll say tier 2. It wasn't as good as the Ho-Oh in those fire decks, but it still had its impact, so I think it's a tier 2. Then Tapu Fini was also tier 2. It saw minor play in, like, Rainbow Energy-based decks, but it made its impact, mainly for the GX attack. Some people did utilize its other attacks, but the GX attack was one of the main factors. This is why this card was so good. Just reset your opponent's active was so cool and made its impact. Necrozma, another tier 1 card, and debatably a GOAT tier card, but I don't know. Like, if you're going to say if a card is GOAT, you'd probably just put Malamar over Necrozma, because if Malamar didn't exist, Necrozma wouldn't have seen play. Or would have seen maybe play, but not as much. So I don't want to say Necrozma GX is a GOAT card, because Malamar is what made it so good, but it was one of the best Malamar partners. Then we got Machamp, trash. Marshadow. Marshadow I'll put tier 2. It saw play with, like, I think just Malamar. That's about it. Outside of that. And expanded, bump it up to tier 1. Muck, trash. Darkrai GX, probably another tier 2 card. Pretty good and expanded, though, with Hypnotoxic Laser. So I'd put it in tier 1 if it was expanded. Gardevoir Gx. Now, Gardevoir Gx, I am going to throw all the way into the GOAT tier, because it came out in one Worlds, and it was a force to be reckoned with when this deck was in its prime. So I'm going to say it's a GOAT. It did fall off eventually, but it wasn't as consistent as, like, something like Reshizard or Mewtwo or ADP or Zoroark, but it came out one Worlds. I think that's pretty good GOAT status material. Noivern is a rogue card, never really saw play. And expanded, bump it up to tier 1. This is a great card and expanded. Gyarados, trash. Golem, trash. Nihilego, another trash card. Crimson Invasion, man, it was a bad set for playable cards. Except for Buzzwole, which actually, Buzzwole's impact was so good that, yes, indeed, it is a tier 1. Oh, no, it's a GOAT card, sorry. Buzzwole's a GOAT card, no doubt about it. Buzzwole is one of the most infamous Ultra Beasts, probably the most iconic Ultra Beast GX card. Yeah, really good card. Saw a lot of play, of course, with Zoroark, and saw a lot of play with Lycanroc. Saw a lot of play because of Zoroark and Pikarom, and without a doubt, it's a GOAT card. And it made that little, like, triangle where, like, Zoroark beat Malamar, Malamar beat Buzzwole, Buzzwole beat Zoroark. So, GOAT. Guzzlord, yeah, trash. Kartana, I'll say, is a tier 2 card. It had its impact in, like, Zoroark, but outside of that, it was just kind of like a tech card, so it's probably just tier 2. Alolan Exeggutor, trash. Savali, I'll say, is tier 2. I think that's fine. Yeah, I do remember this card seeing play with its tech Turbo Drive to put energy in play. Rebel GX was good. It gave basic Pokemon for retreat, but outside of that, I don't think it really took off in popularity. I think it's definitely a good tier 2 card, though. Leafeon, I'll say rogue. People hyped it up, but never did anything and never saw play. Glaceon is a tier 2 card. Saw a bit of play with Zoroark. In Expanded, it saw more play, I feel like, with, like, Barbaracle, but it saw a little bit of play. It's a tier 2 card for sure. Dawnwings, I'll say Dawnwings is a tier 1 card. It did make Malamar pretty good. It had a really good GX attack that was really helpful. And even though Zoroark one-shotted, it still saw a lot of play in Malamar. It was like a staple card. Dustmane, I'll say Dustmane was a tier 1. I do remember Dustmane seeing some play. People liked it with Beastring and Magnezone for a bit, so I'll say it's a tier 1 card. Palkia, the Water Palkia, probably a rogue. I don't remember this card seeing play in Standard that much. It saw a little bit of play in Expanded and Archie's Toys. In Standard, I don't remember this card being all that great, so it's probably just a rogue card. Greninja. Now, Greninja GX, I'll say, is a tier 2 card. It saw play by itself with, like, Latios for a bit. But its main reason why I'm putting tier 2 is because Shintaro's Meganium Greninja deck, one of the coolest rogue decks ever created, has to be tier 2 for that reason alone. Naganadel with Stinger. Probably a tier 1 card. It had a big impact in Zoroark Checkmate. Beast Box was pretty cool too. I mean, that's not going to put it in tier 1, but I think the Checkmate will put it in tier 1 alongside Beast Box. Zygarde Gx, probably tier 2. Buzzwole just turned out to be the better fighting GX card to use. Still good though. Still soft play. Yveltal is also tier 2, mainly because it picked up popularity at the end of its life cycle with Obstagoon and then Eternatus VMAX. But outside of that, let's say it's a tier 2 card. Next up is Dialga. The Metal Dialga was better than the Dragon one, so once again, Rogue. It was decent with like Magnezone, and I know Magnezone Mewtwo was a thing for a bit, but that was never like the best deck ever, so probably just a Rogue card. Xerneas, probably another Rogue card. I think it saw a little bit of play. That's about it. Alternate Cosma. Now, this one's tough, but I'm gonna say it's a tier 1 deck. Again, I don't think it can be I don't think it can be in the GOAT status because Malamar is why it worked, but I don't quite think that Alternate Cosma deserves to be in the GOAT status. And that's, I don't know, like Alternate Necrozma, Normal Necrozma, and Lycanroc and Ghostspot. They're all decent candidates for the GOAT status, but I don't think Alternate Necrozma can be put in the GOAT status. In my opinion, I think it's fine in tier 1. It was good. I think it might be better than the Psychic Necrozma Malamar deck, but I don't think it can be in the GOAT. I think it's just a tier 1 card. Shiftry was trash. Blaziken trash too. It had potential with the Dragon Majesty Blaziken. Articuno, I'll put up in tier 1. The Dex deck had a lot of impact in the control decks, so yeah, the bird control really took value out of this, and it made a big impact in those decks. Electrode, Rogue, some people tried it in like niche combos, but nothing much. And Expanded, I'd probably put it in tier 2, maybe even tier 1. Mr. Mime, trash. Bayonet, I'll put in tier 2. Saw a bit of play with Zoroark, and that's really about it. Nothing much else, wasn't great. Pile Sand, trash. Raticate, I'll put in the Rogue. It was a pretty decent card in the Ultimate Mewtwo deck, but that was like the only deck it saw play in, so I don't think I could put it higher than Rogue, and I don't even know if it should be, maybe it could be tier 2, but I think it's fine in the Rogue, because it's not that great. Saw a little bit of play before it rotated. Scizor GX, I'll say Rogue. It's not a terrible card. People try to make it work, I guess. Celesteela was, or Stakataka was probably a tier 2 card. It was one of the reasons why Beast Box was kind of cool, and it was a decent card. Never saw much play outside of a Beast Box card, but I'll say it's tier 2. Rayquaza GX, I'll put in tier 1. Rayquaza was a pretty popular deck at the time. Not GOAT status, in my opinion. Maybe in Expanded, you can say it's a GOAT. But in Standard, it was definitely really good. It did well at Worlds. Max Elixir Rayquaza was insane. Vika Ray became popular too at some point. So I'll definitely put Rayquaza in the tier 1 status. I mean, again, it's an arguable GOAT placement, but I think it's fine in tier 1. Then we got Shuckle, probably just trash. Then Sceptile, I'll say is Rogue. Kind of bit of play in like Grass Box. Virizian's another Rogue card. People try to make it work as like a heal tag team card. And then outside of that, no play. Macargo, again, be a good Mewtwo partner and you get to be in tier 1. Macargo's impact in Mewtwo tag team welder decks was really good. It was a great way to finish the game off, much like Dragonite Gx. So, I'm fine with putting Macargo in tier 1. Bulcephalon Gx. Bulcephalon, you know what? I think this card was just so good and impactful, consistently good as it's before it rotated, that it deserves to be in the GOAT tier. Bulcephalon, for me, it's a pretty good GOAT tier pick. I think it had a great impact. It saw a lot of play throughout its life cycle. It was a great card, and I'm going to say it's a GOAT card for sure. It's one of the GOATs of the GXs, alongside Buzzwole for the Ultra Beast. Suicune, probably just trash. Didn't see much. Now, Zeraora is interesting. I'll say Zeraora is tier 1, I guess. Like, I guess I'll put in tier 1. Because even though it rotated, Pikarom still continued to be, like, the best deck in the format. It didn't need that Fear Treat ability. But you know what? It was still great for those decks when it was legal. So, say it's a tier 1 card. Sigilyph saw a little bit of play for the ability to counter Pika, I think, or Zoroark or something at the time. Or no, Buzzwole. I don't even remember. It countered something, but it's a Rogue card. I know it saw some play as a counter. Tyranitar's trash. Genesect to say Rogue because it was playable and Tool Drop. Alola Ninetales. Alola Ninetales GX, I think, can be put in the tier 1 status. Great card. Had a pretty big impact on the game at the time. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to deny Alola Ninetales GX's impact on the game when it was legal. So, I think it was pretty cool. Definitely a tier 1 card. Saw a lot of play in Zoroark and Stage 2 decks and Gardevoir. Mimikyu, and it was trash. I don't think it saw play. Lugia Gx. I'll say it's tier 2. It saw some play in Welder decks because you can donk people with Lost Purge, or even just Lost Purge a Pokemon in Lost Zone was so annoying and powerful at the time. Venusaur. Venusaur, I'll say, is probably tier 1. I think it's fine in tier 1. Like, it was pretty good at the time when it was popular. I know Tord popularized the Shaman Heal deck, and I mean, outside of that, it didn't see much play, but I think it was still fine enough to put in tier 1. It was still a very powerful deck. Kind of like Luke Metal at the time, if you want to call it that. It was like similar to Luke Metal. Pikarom, oh boy. Definitely a tier 1 card. Ain't no, or no, not tier 1. I'm just joking. Definitely a GOAT card. Hands down, Pikarom, one of the best tag team cards. The fact that it's been around since it's released and has still consistently been one of the best decks in the format is so impressive. Doesn't matter what Pokemon we get. Eternatus, Urshifu, who cares, bro? This card will still continue to be insane until it leaves the standard format, so... yeah, it's a GOAT card. You can make 330 HP fighting Pokemon that can destroy this card popular, but Pikarom will continue to be an insane card. And that's just, it's got such a good legacy and standard that it has to be in the GOAT status, hands down. Definitely a GOAT card. Then we got Ambrose Gx, crashed, didn't do much. Gengar Mimikyu, I'll throw in tier 1. Honestly, I think Gengar Mimikyu's impact was pretty good. Horror House consistently was an amazing GX deck. And right now in our format, in JIT 2, Gengar Mimikyu turns out to be pretty damn good. So I'm going to say it's a tier 1 card. Maybe not the highest tier 1 card, but still good. We got Mr. Mime. I don't know this card saw play. I think it was a good Mr. Mime too. Lycanroc GX. We'll say it's Rogue. I mean, Dragapult Lycanroc was a thing, but that was never like the best deck. And there was no other situation where I think this Lycanroc so much play. Hoopa GX, I think was another Rogue card. I don't think Dark Box used it too much. Incineroar GX. Once again, just be a good Mewtwo partner, bro, and you're going all the way to tier 1. Its impact is great. It wins you games. If your opponent doesn't KO your Mewtwo immune one hit, Incineroar comes in and cleans them up. So yeah, I think its impact is great in Mewtwo deck, so I'm going to put it in tier 1. Then Cobalion, I think it was tier 2. Saw minor play for the GX attack alone, and I think it's fine in tier 2. Latios. Last 2 tag team cards. Last 2 cards in the tier ranking of Team Up. Probably just Rogue, and then Evilax, I'll throw in tier 1. Back in the day when that Welder Reshizard deck was popular, I think Evilax definitely deserved to be in the tier 1 status, because Evilax countered Zork pretty hard back in the day, and it was one of the best cards in the Welder Reshizard decks when that deck was really popular back when it first came out in Unbroken Bonds. But that'll be it for the video on the tier list of all the GX cards ranked. What do you guys think of the ranking? Again, the only change I would maybe consider making was bumping up maybe Lycanroc, Gliscopod to the GOAT status. But I think it's fine at where they are at. Let me know what you think of the tier list. Do you guys think any cards should be moved around? What cards do you think I should have put in the GOAT tier? What cards do you think should have been in different tiers? What do you guys think of the list? Comment down below also what your favorite GX card was. And rest in peace, the Sun and Moon era from 2017 to 2021. Or you want to count 2016 because we got Snorlax Gx in 2016. But Sun and Moon base that came out in 2017 in February. So it's like from February 2017 to August of 2021. The Sun and Moon era will be coming to a draw and coming to a close. GX cards, you know what? Were fantastic cards. They had such cool things. The GX tag was such a cool mechanic. Tag teams arguably were pretty bad for the game, but overall, I think GXs were really well designed. They were really cool. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss GX cards, to be honest. I think I am going to end up missing them, to be honest. It was a cool mechanic. They're cooler than Vs and VMAXs. VMAXs just seem to be way too vanilla, you know? They seem to be vanilla. They're making cooler ones now with, like, Chilling Reign and Shadow Rider, but I don't know, man. Vs are just, and VMAXs are just not what GXs used to be. GXs were just way cooler. Really well-designed cards. I'm going to salute a farewell to the GX era. It was a good run. It had its ups and downs, looking at UADP, but you know what? Fun era. Great era of the TCG. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out card cabin down below. Use code LDF. Check out the socials. Catch you guys later.